Confederacy of dunks. Toronto Raptors. Scotty B. WeTheNorth, baby.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks basketball podcast on Raptors Republic. I'm your host, Freddie Rivas, here with fellow host and producer Andy Hull. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man?
What's up? And special guest. If you're on Raptors Republic, you better know this guy, Samson Folk. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Not much. Every time I come on Confederacy of Dunks, I cherish it because I remember our lost episode.
Oh my god!
That we're always chasing that dragon, and we have to connect because I'm a little truffle pig for your hot sauces. I need the hot sauce.
Oh my god! Yeah, I haven't given you the new one. It's good. It's
really good.
It's sad. The name's sad. It's Darko's dream, and it was last year. And I mean, it's just a bit of a Darko nightmare, but the hot sauce is good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude.
I was watching True Detective with a leg, and in the first season, Matthew McConaughey's character, he says, "I don't sleep, I just dream." And he's always speaking like these little metaphorical plays. That's actually, that's a serendipitous for me, Darko's dream, sure.
That first season of True Detective is absolutely incredible.
Also, weirdly enough, Darko doesn't sleep. Never.
It's a lot of
Guys
coffee
awake
in the system.
all the time. A lot of coffee. Loves that coffee. He's a big coffee guy. We all know.
Okay, that's a great segue because you ran into Darko today at the Masai presser.
Yeah.
And he noticed you jacked. He pointed at, what's it like to hear that in a room full of people? Were you like,
wait, he wasn't on a mic.
Oh, you're jacked.
He was on a mic.
And
hello,
also,
everyone.
Yeah, I also feel a bit of a jackass because I didn't know we were going to talk about this, and I'm wearing a tank top. I should have worn.
You're dressed like the guy on TikTok who's like, "Here's how you act properly to Jim." Yeah. You know that guy? You got the hat and everything, like really like the good high hat. It's great, man.
Yeah. I'm very close to the manosphere. I'm like an inch away, man.
You're good. You're in the clear, in my opinion.
Darko, he asked if I've been moving weight. I said I was buff, so that was like a fun little thing. I like that. That probably ranks higher than when Gary Trent Jr. complimented my fashion. This is a tick above that. So in the annals of Samson's history, this is locked in my brain.
What did Gary say about your fashion? Was he just like nice pants or something? Like what did he say?
He complimented my outfit well over a year ago now. But yeah, so it was nice.
That's a big moment. Cool. That's huge.
That's a huge moment. Massive.
Definitely.
I want to know, like, if that was me, and like, first of all, it wouldn't be. But if it was me, and I was
nice WNBA sweatshirt. You know what I mean? Like that's it is nice, but like
No, but like if somebody complimented, because like when you're working out, it's a lot of hard work. So when someone says something nice about your body, then all of a sudden you're around people, I wouldn't be able to look at anybody else. I'd be so I'd have so much overflowing gratitude. My face would get red, and I would just be like, I would just sort of be freeze.
I guess, yeah. I just kind of like, I don't know. I think I was bashful. I felt like, I just got asked to the dance or something. I was like, oh, I don't know, thank you. That was kind of what it was. But yeah, fun little thing.
Yeah, good shit. I love seeing that.
Okay, before we get going, I wanted to bring up one thing, Freddie. You didn't know about this, but I'm going to bring this up. Okay, did you guys know? And I asked Freddie this already, so I know his answer. And Samson, I'm guessing you probably know this. Did you guys know that there's an NBA courtside restaurant down on like, was it like Queens Quay or something like that? Like it's I just found out about this. How long has that been there? It's like an official
20
NBA
years.
Restaurant.
It's been there for 20 years, dude.
No way. Get out of here.
I got invited to the grand opening of that. I think it was over a year ago. And I didn't go because I don't know. I don't like going to that stuff. However, I was going downtown for something else, and I watched a game there with my friends. I think the first game of Minnesota Phoenix this season. It was nice. It was cool.
It was good. Yeah.
It wasn't like absurdly expensive. but it's kind of like gimmicky.
It's a
I guess.
touristy thing, right? Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just found it so strange. Like I've never ever seen a league have an official restaurant that was so like kind of, you know, like I've never been to the NHL restaurant. I've never been, you know, I've never seen a Major League Baseball grill. You know what I mean? Like unless it's inside of an arena or something.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really weird. And how did I miss that? Like, how did I miss that existing in my city? I don't know. But anyways,
How often are you on Queen's Key?
That's it.
Good.
See,
That's a good
Never.
follow-up. You know,
I used to be down there a lot. I used to work down there, but not anymore.
Oh,
No.
cool. Yeah, that's interesting.
Cool.
I remember hearing about it and being like, "This is sick," and then I
Yeah.
never went.
I'm not going there.
I saw it on Instagram. I was like,
There's
look at all the pictures. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then I just simply never went.
There's a lot of things that in my mind I'm like, I'm glad that exists, but it offer. I don't know if it impacts my life or ever will, but I'm like, it's cool that that's there, and I think the NBA courtside is that.
I think it's great.
genre.
I think it's very cool, and I do think it's honestly a bit strange how far it is from Scotiabank Arena. Like, you know, like
Yeah.
I don't know who just comes from the Raptors game and walks down to Queens Quay and a bit like east and is like, oh, look, this is where we want to go. You know what I mean? It's weird. But anyways, I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just wanted to point that out.
Wait,
Yeah.
It's sponsored? Is that what it's about to be? Sponsored?
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I would love
Yeah.
it. Please sponsor. Please.
They're
Sorry, we're talking so much shit about you right now.
Yeah, we're good with your ad money. You know, we're just gonna like shit on you a little bit.
Yeah.
I went in, it looked nice. I went to the store. It had some cool hats, you know, I had some jerseys. I was into it.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Well, also a little add on here, but I mean, it's not even I don't even know if there's a particular question, but like let me just phrase it like this: does anyone think they have an idea of where it went so wrong for DeRozan and Drake?
Oof.
Like, is there a moment? Is it just like a Compton thing?
Well, let me pause at something. Maybe he actually was like, I didn't know this stuff about Drake, and I believe Kendrick.
Yeah.
Maybe he is keeping the family away.
Yeah.
Maybe he also requested the trade once Josh Giddey came through as well. Maybe he's saying like,
Wow,
no, that's not for me. It could be an earnest attempt to be like, he's also from Compton, you know.
Yeah. They must.
he's a pretty earnest guy. I mean,
he is.
This is why I think we as the Raptors fans and then of course the organization, this is why it's so tough to tie your whole franchise and like a lot of your identity to one guy. You know, it's like, oh, now what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, and the thing is everyone was ignoring this stuff about him for a while because it was just rumors and stuff. But now that Kendrick's putting it out there big time, everybody's gotta face it. You gotta look at that Millie Bobby Brown stuff. You gotta see that clip of Billie Eilish being like, he's so nice. I've known him since I was 14. You're like, oh God.
That's the Raptors are pouring over the film of Millie Bobby Brown being like, we talk about boys, you know. Geez. I guess I don't anticipate a separation of that relationship anytime soon. Yeah. So especially with the 30th anniversary coming up, might even be like an honorific around it. So I guess
I wonder how.
I just want to say I'm excited for the next Jack, Matt, and Drake like jam. Because Jack's gonna do something nuts. Like Jack's gonna be like, what are you gonna do to Kendrick? Like Jack is gonna say something completely unhinged.
Hey Drake, you're not like us. Hey. What?
He's gonna bust that segment open. Like something's gonna happen. And Matt will just like laugh uncontrollably.
Tough to predict what happened there, but probably very funny. Yeah, agreed.
The Raptors are like a weird, like not casualty, but like bystander of this crazy thing. It is so nuts to have DeRozan in the video and Drake obviously be so linked. It's so crazy that this is such a big thing that like our team is kind of side attached to. It's like, oh no, what's gonna happen when we like play in LA and stuff? Oh no.
I think it'll mostly be fine. I think it is just contained to Drake because I got the notification for the music video, and so I sent out a screenshot of Damar in it very quickly.
That's
There's
what I first thought.
a lot of negative reactions to it, and I don't know, like I understand They Not Like Us is kind of talking about like it's LA culture, but it's mostly talking about how Drake behaves with young women. Like that's
Yeah.
the message. So I don't think he's throwing shade at Toronto. I don't think people from
No,
Toronto need to
I
feel any
agree.
sort of
I
way.
agree.
And this isn't Damar being like, "Oh yeah, you guys from the East Coast, you guys from Toronto, like you're not right." I think it's just about Drake
Yeah.
and his rumored proclivities. But
Yes.
I mean, the rap beef, etc. That's not my field of, of expertise at all.
Well, it is it is nuts that like Toronto, so because Drake is so tied to the city's identity when it comes
Ubiquitous,
to
yeah.
pop. Yeah, right. It's like people are defensive about it, like in Toronto, and like they are like, well, you know, the Drake, the AI Tupac was okay. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was bad. It was a bad move. Like, you've got to be able to distance yourself from that a little bit, I think, and be like, okay, he lost the rap battle, but this isn't about us.
To tie
You
it
know?
back to podcast sponsor NBA Courtside,
Yes.
I had a debate about using AI at NBA Courtside. It was that day we were talking about the beef. So
With the
Sponsor
owner.
just comes flying in.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's the longest ad read of all time.
Exactly. I'm trying to get Trey and I sponsored by Mountain Dew. So I'm sending out constant emails. And I'm constantly like being like holding it up during podcasts and stuff like that.
Yeah, Mountain Dew, get in there. These guys riff it. They they don't need you. You need them.
Exactly.
I know the big Mountain Dew execs are listening. So
Yes.
The
I
big
hope you get a
Mountain
call.
Dew execs.
Yeah, there's some of them, right?
There's something
They
funny
do.
about that sentence.
They
Of course
do.
there are. Of course
Someone's got to
there are.
run the company.
But it
Yep.
is funny to think about. Just a bunch of like snowboarders, some guys just playing Game Boys from the '90s. Anyways,
Okay, let's jump into Raptors. Yeah, there was it was a big moment today with Scotty and IQ and kind of like talking about the future, thinking about the future, reflecting on the past. But yeah, I think I like to think about this every offseason. And I feel like there's a lot of different types of answers, but it's it's individual players' swing skills. And again, it's hard to predict, but it's fun to sort of muse on. And I like to sort of frame this as like, what is the swing skill that you think would, positively impact the Raptors the most, like individual swing skill? Do you want to kick this off, Samson?
Sure. I think it's Emmanuel Quickly's. It's hard to just couch this into saying it's one skill in particular, but
Yes, because they're all married.
point of attack defense, I think, because if Emmanuel Quickly actually can guard opposing point guards at a decent level, then it does actually help the Raptors restructure how they can build this team going forward. And the content, if they actually view this as like, well, these guys could be a contender someday, then it allows for that. Because if Emmanuel Quickly is as poor guarding the point of attack as he was last season with the Raptors, then it's kind of completely untenable to view this team as a contender ever if they don't have someone to do that. And Emmanuel Quickly, if he does it well, it allows them to get a little bit more risque around the 2 or the 3. It allows them to take risks building the team elsewhere. And in the same way that Scotty kind of taking that jump, being a guy who plays on ball more as a forward, allows the Raptors to go after a guard like Quickly who can do a lot of work off ball. Quickly being a guy who can actually stick his position, on ball on the other side, it allows them perhaps to have a happier marriage in Grady at the 2 or Jacoby Walter at the 2 or anything like that. So I think that is the biggest swing in terms of positive impact for the Raptors.
I like it. And I think with his speed and his length, there's real potential there for that. I mean, I don't know if like, would you say you feel like he could be like are there lockdown, like, point guard defenders in the NBA, or is it more so like kind of steering guys into a certain direction that's like, being that first part of a scheme, like, which I think Quickly, has shown great potential for. Like, do you see him as a guy who could sort of like, yeah, do you think he can do that?
Yeah, there's a few guys who do play that well at the point of attack. The Raptors actually traded for one. Unfortunately, Davion has a long way to go with his offensive side to kind of, dictate that he stays on the floor for long periods of time. But Drew Holiday is another good one. There's a couple guys who are really sticky at the point of attack and really change things. But there are some guards who operate better in scheme. And Emmanuel Quickley is a guy who operated better in scheme as the off-ball defender. So rather than being a guy who is really good at guiding a player to the help, being a guy who climbs around a screen, starts to slide, and make sure that instead of having a player, send help to below the free throw line, he's pushing them wider so that you can meet at the 45 extended or something like that. Emmanuel really struggled even with playing guys into the scheme last season. And, the Raptors fell apart. Jonte Porter was throwing games, and the Raptors were so bad we didn't even really know. Like there's a lot of stuff that happened with the team last year. They lost countless games in a row. They only won, they won under 25 games. A lot of stuff went wrong. So in a better context, these things may pick up quickly, or expeditiously, I should say, expeditiously for quickly, and we can hope on that. But it didn't go well last year, and it wasn't something he did in New York, really. However, I mean, you cross your fingers, things can happen all the time. And as you said, he's fast. He is long. He does have the body to be able to do something of that sort. So, maybe it happens. And that would be incredible if it did.
That'd be amazing. And, I think it's a really sort of like, I like how you ended it there, because he does have the, all the ingredients for this to happen. Yep. So, hell, man, maybe it happens.
Even just today, Emmanuel was asked about Scotty, and he was like, yeah, Scotty's great because it's so rare for a star to actually play defense. And hopefully Scotty can say that about Emmanuel after next year. Like, that'd be great too.
For sure. Like having your top two guys be full two-way guys, or even if Quickly, even if he's not a full two-way player, like just being a solid defender. Like, how many point guards in the NBA are just like, what, I don't know, like 90% offense, 10% defense. Like, but that's also effective, depending on the scheme or whatever. But Andy, is there a swing skill guy for you?
I'm not as big on the X's and O's. You guys know me. This is why you get your Samsons in here. This is what you're talking about,
of course,
schemes and everything. But for me, it was like, okay, imagine IQ could like slash, and really like drive and finish hard, as opposed to like putting up a little floater here and there. However, you already said IQ, so I'm going to move it over and make it.
We're getting an Andy pivot.
Yeah, of course. I love a pivot. Making it a bit more maybe unrealistic for this year, but maybe down the road. Put Grady. Let's look at Grady Dick. Let's talk about Grady being able to do that. Let's talk about Grady just getting in and doing a floater here and there. Let's talk about him, getting downhill and stuff like that. Like obviously that's going to help the team. That's going to be able to move things around for him when he's on the court and everything. So I don't know. I feel like add that dimension to his game. Obviously you're just improving stuff there, right? I mean, I don't know. Again, maybe that's more of a long-term goal. This is our guy Grady. He just figured it. He just figured out where he belongs on the team basically this year. We weren't even sure he was going to be able to do that, early on. But he got there, and I think we're all pretty happy with the growth from last season, considering how poorly it all went, as you mentioned. But one of the bright spots certainly was Grady, and hopefully, he can continue doing that, and maybe add another dimension to his game. Who knows?
Yeah, from like a work ethic and development standpoint, it's a great sign to me anytime someone goes to the G League or their affiliate and comes back and you're like, wow, they were not just putting up shots.
Yeah,
playing in Mississauga, they were truly using every,
AKA what I was doing in grade 8. Putting up shots in Mississauga. You know what I mean? Like, that's,
Yes. I forgot that you're from Mississauga,
and I am lying. I absolutely did not put up shots. I was a rebound first player. They called me Big Country. Anyways, let's move on.
I believe they called that the Andy Hole. Mississauga and putting up shots.
Yeah, that's right. The Andy Hall. Yeah.
You're actually onto something, by the way, though. because I wrote that piece and I did a video essay where I looked at I watched all of Grady's jumpers and tracked them because I wanted to see how good he was on movement shots. And some of his off the dribble stuff was coming after those grimy bumps in the middle of the floor, using his handle to get middle. And he has the touch to convert basically anywhere on the floor. I'm sure you guys, there's a reason you brought this up, Andy, but he pretty slick at the rim using English and with either hand, scoop layups, high finishes, all that kind of stuff. Whirling dervishes of that kind of sort. So
that's what he always looks like to me. He gets in there and then he like, yeah, you're impressed with what goes up. It doesn't always hit, but then his body is like, it always looks like that, which I love.
He's quite controlled. Like he has a lot of craft and subtlety.
The hand has to be the eye of the storm for him.
Yes,
a lot of stuff's going on, but this emerges with
yes.
perfect English. I think there's room for that. As you said, maybe a longer term thing, but Grady popping off, as we well know, guys who shoot the ball really well, when they add other skills, it goes up kind of exponentially. It's an awesome thing.
So mine's like so specific that I'm wondering if this is just something I want more than I can expect to actually happen. But I feel like, every team, usually it's a superstar, right? Usually it's the best guy on the team who just lives at the line and gets to the line a ton. And, I expect Scotty to get to the line a lot more, right? He's earning that respect. He's going to, have the ball more. He's going to be more aggressive. But he's such a generous, eyes open, type guy that I feel like there would just be so many instances where he's just diming it out as a first instinct. So what I think could be a really big swing skill for this team is RJ Barrett just deciding that, like, hey, here's something this team needs. I can hit free throws at a high clip. I'm strong as hell. I'm left-handed. I already get to the line 5.5 times a game or whatever. What if I can push that to 7? What if I'm going to use my strength to plow? And, I feel like there's, I guess rightfully so, not a lot of talk about RJ. But he really did impress me in his time with the Raptors. And, I think his super blistering 3-point percentage is, I don't know. I just don't know if that's a real thing. And I know for most of his career it was not, but so I was looking at RJ for this question, and I feel like there's an opportunity there for him to get to the line a lot. And maybe he's just not going to handle the ball enough, but if he knows that's what IQ is not driving all the time, Scotty's not driving all the time, when I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to drive, I'm going to try and dunk, I'm going to try and get fouled.
You bring up something interesting that it's true. RJ doesn't get talked about much, and what this springs in my brain immediately, I'm like, why? And I think it's because he was so good immediately upon coming to the Raptors. He started scoring more efficiently. His drives per game, his efficiency on drives was the best it's ever been by some margin. He shot the ball well as far as the jumper. He scored more points per game than Scotty in his time as a Raptor, even when they shared the floor. And he just took the reins and took the possessions that the Raptors didn't have much of an idea for. He just gobbled them up and made good stuff out of it. And so much so, and at such a high efficiency, that I think people aren't like, ooh, this will keep improving. It's hard to even be like, where's RJ going to improve from where he was? Of course, players do improve, and I think most people would hope for it on the defensive end. But offensively, he was so efficient, and he was so no frills about it. Like his touch time, his amount of touches was quite low relative to a lot of the other guys. It's just like when he got the ball, he did something with it. It's hard to even conceptualize what that looks like because he was so strong last season, at least offensively. It's maybe he deserves more creativity like what you're giving for how we can kind of pad out what kind of big year he might have next year.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big part of this program, at least for the foreseeable future. Even if it's not, if he's sort of number 3 or depending on the way things go, like I guess number 3. I was gonna say number 4, but I don't really know who would usurp him necessarily. But yeah, he's like I think there's something going on there with and I'm not trying to say like it's like a home cooking type thing. I feel like that's kind of like a cliche generic take, but it's a combination of him being like of maturing, being like this is going to be his 23 24 year. He's hopefully going to come off a big summer with Canada, and yeah, he definitely it seems like a certain amount of pressure is off, and he can sort of really like tighten up the screws of his game. So yeah, I picked free throws, but I mean, I feel like there's a lot of areas for him to sort of, just, be consistent and be efficient.
A lot of people compared him to DeMar, and that's a healthy comparison for the point it's trying to make, in that DeMar was one of the strange players who they always say progression isn't linear. He was like, actually, it is for me. I get a little bit better all the time, and that's my life. And, credit to DeMar for that. And it would be very cool to see RJ do the same thing, because it's hard to discern what a leap would be, but it's not hard to discern what a player slowly improving and getting better all the time looks like,
For sure. I don't know if you guys remember, this is a bit of a throwback because he finished his career in 2013, but Corey Maggette was a guy who
he is the biceps king.
Right? Yeah,
he was biceps king.
He was so jacked, but he was a guy that he just lived at the line. And if you look at like the rest of his skills, it's a little bit like that's not fair. He was a really, really talented player, but like when you said no frills, I think that kind of hit on what I feel like there's a version of RJ where he's like, he's the no frills king.
Yes. Maggette, really good cutter as well. There's a cut named after him. There's like a Wade cut. There's the Danny Green cut. There's they call it a Corey cut because it's the opposite side cut during a pick and roll into the middle for a dump off. And so it wasn't just off the dribble that he got to the free throw line. It was always his motion to support drives as like a pitch option. And those big biceps helped him. I know Cleaning the Glass has like this, what they call and one conversion rate. Like they have the percentiles. I can't remember who was really good last year, but I imagine he was very good for a long time. It's like LeBron, we always think about when guys would grab him and he'd finish anyway, and like flex on guys. He'd be like, you foul me, but you can't stop me. Like Terminator type stuff. I think Corey Maggette was kind of like that too.
I just want to say like it's such a perfect visual picture you painted there, but that just got my mind rolling about like how cool is it to have a play named after you?
Oh,
that's so cool.
I was just going to say, I love the nomenclature of basketball. Like I love how it is a lot like science. Like you name a move or something after the player that like did it first or is known best for it or whatever. Right. Like I just love that. It's really cool.
Shem God.
Yeah, there's a million things.
And like to my knowledge, like it's not really in other sports. Like basketball is definitely the most like happens the most. I don't know. Now I'm going to say the 4 North American sports. It might happen a lot in soccer. I don't know. But as far as I know, like the NBA is the only one where it comes up again and again. You always hear that. I love that.
That's a good point too, because in the NFL, you wouldn't really do something unscripted. Like it's more militant in its approach. It's like, well, you have to run this route because the quarterback has to know you're running that route. And if you just break off, that's like not good. However, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's like there might be plays that like might be named after like coaches and stuff, maybe a little bit, but it's not exactly the same thing, right? Like it's a little different.
Yeah, like in the NBA, like there's a bunch of different things. I think it was I can't remember George Karl. Like Darvin Ham is a coach in the NBA now, but the hammer screen, and the Raptors run hammer plays all the time. It's named after Darvin Ham, and they ran it with the Bucks. And obviously, he didn't drop the play; he was the player, but he was the guy who would be the recipient on the end of the hammer play, the hammer screen. And like the Danny Green cut is following a guy's drive out to the corner to like shallow it, and like the wade cut is the same side cut on the pick and roll. Sometimes people call it a blade cut, but like there's a million different things. It's very cool. Although the nomenclature is super inconsistent. That's the problem with basketball is like everything has 4 names for it. So, and it's kind of what school of thought you come from. So if someone's like, oh, they're running Zoom. Zoom is also Chicago. Chicago is also like a pistol concept. Like it's like there's a million things. It's hard to convey it and have it be that everyone can understand, you know. But
I take the approach that I have, which is just don't know any of them.
That's a healthy approach, honestly.
Hear them on broadcasts and on podcasts and stuff all the time, and don't really affix any sort of importance to them.
You don't have to know the names to anything. Basically, if you can understand, like, I think that's why that worked. You don't have to know what it's called. You're just like, I think that's where the play worked. It's
that
very
looked
good.
Nice.
Yeah,
that looked good.
That's the guy on the train. Looking at doom and gloom versus looking at the sun is like knowing versus not knowing. Yeah,
yeah, totally. Yeah.
I feel like then I must be the guy. I must be the third guy in that train that's like on the back, being like, I want to feel both things. Because the hammer. I mean, I've been hearing the hammer since Dwayne Casey, and I did not know that it was Darvin Ham. That's so cool.
Yeah, big time.
Okay. Listen, this is the Samson pod. So, I tried to tailor some questions for you, Samson, and, listen, if you're a Samson fan, this guy's rock climbing. He's here.
There's no Samson fans. There's like readers listening.
I'm a Samson fan. So maybe it's me, but, yeah. So I thought like, okay, this is going a bit deep here, but, there's this incredible doc. I don't know, probably like 10 years ago. I think the guy's name was Hamill.
Alex Honnold, Free Solo. Yes.
Alex Honnold, Free Solo. Yes. And my wife's a therapist, right? And she was just obsessed with this guy. She watched, like he did a bunch of university talks, and, he can't really experience fear.
Yeah.
Like it's like a missing like a chemical in his brain or whatever.
His amygdala doesn't work properly.
Yeah. And, it allowed him to do just like absurd, like, unthinkable things when rock climbing. And, yeah, so I just want that to be the lead into this question. And I want us all to think about, like, you got to go on a dangerous rock climb.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not like Alex Honnold level, but like, you need to trust the person. They need to be good. And yeah, Samson, you got to start this off because, I feel like Andy, I don't want to say that you don't know anything about rock climbing, but also want to say you might not.
How dare you?
Do you? I'm so sorry if you do. I don't really. So yeah, Samson, you got to take one current Raptor with you. No interview process. You're like, I got to select this guy. I got to trust him. We're going on a serious rock climbing adventure, and this is who I'm taking.
Okay. I think it's down to 2 guys immediately, because rock climbing, you don't want too big a wingspan, because basically it works that the longer your arms are, the farther it moves your center of mass away from the wall. So it is good to have long arms in the sense that you can reach something, but the longer your arms are, the more it bows your body off the wall. And the closer your body is to the wall, the better you will climb, the safer you will climb. So I would want to choose Scotty, but I can't choose Scotty. Ochai Agbaji, Emmanuel Quickly. These are 2 guys who have kind of, when you look at professional rock climbers or boulderers or anything like that, they kind of have the body type. And Ochai Agbaji, just from the sense of like that guy's muscles have muscles.
He's jacked.
Like, he's
yeah.
To the point where I'm like, do you have enough body reserve to burn during games? Like, do you have enough there?
Yeah.
Is kind of what I think about. So he's in there, and Emmanuel Quickly, I think those are the 2 guys. And I guess I'll just choose Ochai because Emmanuel got paid. He probably doesn't want. He doesn't want to risk anything. Ochai, maybe he'll have a little bit extra time to go rock climbing with me. He can teach me how to be the most handsome man alive, I guess, or something like that. That's it'll be Ochai
as you're rock climbing. So
also, that is a skill you can learn.
Let's talk about your handsomeness. And yes. I got a couple tips. Okay, well, I'm gonna go to Andy next, but I just want to say my answer already wrong. I was all about reach, and I think I probably went in the wrong direction. Andy,
Okay.
sorry.
Well, I've been rock climbing, Freddie, just so you know.
Let's go.
I'm so sorry.
No, not rock climbing. I haven't climbed a
Okay.
rock.
Oh,
Come on, let's not get.
You're already walking it back. Is all.
It's not a rock that I climb, not a real rock. I'm not out there in friggin' Death Valley climbing rocks.
Sure.
Is a wall that had those things on it, you know. Okay, come on. I got to the top of the wall. I did it a couple times. I did, you know, it was great. And my forearms hurt a lot after.
Yeah.
Because it's all about forearm strength, is what I thought. So that being said, I would normally take Corey Maggette here, but I can't because he's not currently playing for the Raptors.
Yeah, sorry, no Corey Maggette.
I can't take Maggette. So I wanted to pick a joke answer. So I will. I'm gonna say Kelly Olynyk. Let's go. I think Kelly is going to be the kind of guy who's going to be very supportive. Also, I mean, listen, Kelly,
he dresses like a rock climber.
There you go. And like I've seen rock climbers wear that thing that he wears to keep his hair back.
Yeah.
He is so rock climber coded. He's like the BC guy. He's like, I'm just trying to get out on a wall, you know, man.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get out on a wall.
Like he's sitting under the root, he's smoking weed. He's like,
yeah,
this is gonna be sick.
Yeah,
he's like, oh guys, I just finished my slack line. Let's go find a wall.
Exactly.
He'd smoke you up. Like when you're halfway and you're like,
big time.
You're a little bit anxious.
This is like, actually the best pick by far.
He's the guy from Seinfeld who takes George rock climbing, you know? And I'm George, and I'm like, I made sandwiches for us, Kelly. And he's like, wicked, dude. Just stay, you know, keep up down there, little man, you know?
And he's got that booming baritone voice that could guide you if in a moment of panic. He could just speak to you and calm you. It's like the voice in Dune, you know?
Keep holding on to the wall.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
don't
let go of the rock.
Don't let go.
He's just giving me a cool
climb
advice.
higher, go up. Yeah.
Go up, man. Yeah.
It's funny. That's actually when we like rock climb. You give people advice when they're on the wall, and it is actually the deepest part of your wisdom. You want to tell just like reach for it, go up, which is insanity because the people are there like freaking out, and you're like, just grab it. And it's like, yes, I understand the point of it, but yeah, it's fruitless.
I do know that because I have been rock climbing.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said. I too have been rock climbing. I went to Tim Hortons camp.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
No worries. Bumped my knee real hard and I got stuck. So one of the counselors came up and rescued me.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And it, like I think about it now, it wasn't high at all. Because the counselor didn't use the rope. They were like, oh, I'll save you, you wiener.
Do you remember Fraser Young? Freddie?
Comedian? Yes.
Yeah. So Fraser Young's comedian. He was on the Much Music Show with all the comedians on it. What was it called again? Video on Trial. He was on Video on Trial a lot. He was going to be on this show that I used to do a lot with Brendan, who hosted a couple episodes. And they went rock climbing for like the activity. It was like, oh, let's talk to guys about dating, and then they'll doing an activity. They went rock climbing, and Fraser smashed his knee so hard he like dislocated his kneecap.
Oh God!
And I was like, how did that happen? Like, so you must know because that's maybe something similar happened to you.
Definitely not. I just had a cut.
Okay.
I was a city kid. I was in Banff. I was already out of my element, you know.
Right.
Banff is cool. I love Banff.
Hey, man.
Never been.
Just guys, when you go into Tim Hortons, if you ever do, there's that box that's like send kids to camp. Let me just tell you, that's real.
You were the kid.
It's a real box.
You were the only kid. Like Tim Hortons around Canada have been funding Freddie Rivas.
Yeah.
Really? Because the box at
get that money.
The box at our Tim Hortons at the drive-thru is just filled with old garbage.
Yeah,
it's like straws and coffee mugs, like lids and shit. And I'm like, that's not a real box. That's not sending kids to camp.
It's a type of camp. That one.
Okay.
Yeah. They go pick trash. That's
they go. Yeah. It's a listen. They're learning different lessons. Okay, mine's bad. I think. So I was torn between two guys that have huge reach, and I think by learning about what Samson was saying, I think that perhaps they wouldn't be good. But I have selected Jakob Pertl. So
Right.
right,
Per
I know.
plus.
But here's my logic. My logic was that he would be really calm and chill. Maybe smoke some weed with you, so like
Sure.
Kelly style. Maybe I
Kelly
don't know.
style.
And I also feel like I don't see him being easily scared. And but when he moves through the paint, he's got like very like his footwork's really good. So I'm like that. The footwork's got to be a plus, right? Um, Samson, can you back me up here, or is this just a
I
bad?
got made fun of for that footwork because at the end of season interviews last season, I was kind of obsessed with the slide step that Jakob always uses in the
Yeah.
pick and roll. And it's such a deft step because it allows him to have 2 feet and a pivot like 2 feet away from the basket instead of 7 feet away from the basket. And he times that slide step perfectly on the catch and then a pound dribble. His footwork is incredibly tight. It's incredibly impressive. And there's a reason why his finishing numbers in the pick and roll are so absurdly high. Despite everybody wanting lob threat, Jakob Pertl is actually superb at taking a bounce pass, converting it. But then I asked him about that, and he was kind of like, "Oh, I thought you were going to ask me how my summer's been." Like, and then obviously, we were the guys on the train. He was like, "I'm thinking about summer. You're looking, at the inside of this anyway." But yeah, he is very deft, and the like hip flexor, hip stuff, the deftness of your feet. Your feet are really good. They hook into stuff, so they keep your tension and keep you closer to the wall. That's pretty good.
Okay.
And also, he might just be able to
better.
reach the top because he's so big. It might be 2 moves for him.
Samson, you're a great guest because you have really supported the hell out of both of mine and Freddie's
you're
terrible answers at
Straight
this.
up.
Yeah,
You're carrying us. It feels
listen,
good.
Freddie and I are improvisers, and we
Yes.
know that you got it. It's yes and right. You got to just yes and everything that happens on stage, and you're very good at this. I think you would be a great improviser, and I'd love to see it sometime.
We're getting Samson out.
I'm coming to Second City. It's decided.
Do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need you to carry us on stage too.
I don't
like
think I
lift
have
us.
a knack for that. Those live events for Raptors Republic, it's like the moment you get on a stage, suddenly everything you say seems really stupid. I'm like, oh fuck.
The best thing is if your aim is to say stupid shit, then it works. Then you're in the line.
Or you can carry stupid guys like us. If you're just there to be like, listen, Freddie and Andy are gonna fall apart, and I'll try and carry them.
I'm going to think powerfully about how I can say yes to the things they're saying. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Just how you're carrying us on this podcast.
I don't think that's true.
Okay, this question I've been wanting to ask for a while now. And I'm so happy that I have you on, Samson. Because and anyone that listens to you, follows you, knows that you really, really, have this like unique place in the basketball, in the way that basketball is talked about, right? You have such an expertise at making people understand, like granular stuff, and what players do, how they thrive, and how they're changing. Like, I remember a long time ago, you were just like we're always sort of talking about how good Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was, like well before the Shea. I mean, I think a couple years ago at least. And I remember being like, "Dad, wow, this guy is really just talking about how good of a cutter Shea is a lot." And then I started seeing it, and I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is real. This is a thing." And yeah, I think there's so many ways to approach loving basketball and learning about basketball. So I thought this would be a good sort of like open question. And yeah, Samson, and also Andy later, but Samson, what's your favorite way to learn about basketball?
I did this, you might remember it, Freddie. I did this podcast little series where I talked to a few different people. It was called Loving Basketball, and I asked everybody why they loved basketball. And my favorite episode was probably the one I did with Caitlin Cooper, but also Yasmin Dawala. She said she loved basketball for the pageantry of it. And we kind of talked about Joel Embiid and how he was kind of like this operatic villain in some sense. And there's so many different ways to enjoy basketball. So I understand I occupy kind of a granular space and focus on that. But for anybody who doesn't, like, there's so many things to enjoy. The place where I learn the most is I'm now in a privileged position because of the job to actually learn from scouts and players and coaches and the highest level of them. Not that they actually want to give me the time, but because the NBA mandates that they speak to me. So I get to learn stuff through them. However, I think my favorite place to learn about basketball growing up was just playing it. And that was just being able to play basketball a lot and kind of, you guys can break down comedy probably. I wouldn't be able to do it, but you can understand why a joke works, why it makes sense, the timing, the cadence of it, all the kind of things that make it work and make it funny. And that's because you guys have been around it and performing it and all that kind of stuff. And I think playing basketball at a decent level helped prime me to be able to see concepts that were a little bit more complex and try and communicate them, I guess, as best I can in more of a layman's sense. But I think just from playing basketball, because there's so much you can learn about just when you play. You can look at Shea. There was somebody asked, I played basketball yesterday morning, and a guy asked me about, like, he's like, you have a really quick first step. How do you do that? Like, what do you work out for that? And I was like, well, it's actually like ankle flexion, because the more your ankle flexion gets, the lower your shin can come to the ground, and that creates a more of a burst, and you can drive your knee forward, which actually creates the quicker first step. And the best example of this is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. His knee almost touches the ground. His ankle flexion is out of this world. So there are quick twitch muscles that enable that kind of stuff, but flexion is something that comes along with that. And I wouldn't have understood that as well if I hadn't been trying to do Shea stuff on the court, if I hadn't been trying to mimic my favorite athletes growing up. And then, because I'm not that athlete, finding the answers in my own limitations, I think. So just kind of living and breathing basketball without the big payday of being a professional athlete, just enjoying it for what it is. I think that was my favorite place to learn. Also coaches, because coaches, the vast majority of them, they don't get paid well at all. They just love basketball so much. They want to impart their wisdom and help kids achieve. And coaches are so giving, and they're so passionate about teaching their sport, that I do think that is the best place to learn, probably, if they have the time to tell it to you.
Was there a coach along the way that sort of really, like highlighted the intricacies for you in a way that was like, you sort of like, oh, I get this, I understand this?
I think for playing basketball, Trent Salmon he's a really great coach I had growing up. But as far as like learning basketball and communicating basketball, Evan Gualberto, I did a podcast with him for a while, and it was the Bouncing Around podcast. And if anybody remembers, like from 2012 to 2017, before the NBA started releasing highlight packages of like all their players, he would get like millions of views because he would cut together all the clips of like Steph, superb shooter, and he would have these little names for it. And he's a coach at DeMatha, which is like Victor Oladipo went to DeMatha, and he's a very high level coach in the US. And he's always been very patient to explain things to me and why it worked. And so we did a podcast together, and I learned so much. And just from being his friend, I've learned a lot from Evan.
Cool. I think like I feel like on Twitter it's like Samson Folk the coach. So there's like there's I feel like you identify with that, and like teaching is like to be a good teacher, you have to have a lot of passion, right? And I think it's not just about having the knowledge. It's like, how can I make sure that this knowledge sticks? How do I make it exciting? How do I take something that is daunting and break it down in a way that feels like, oh yeah, this is something I can understand, this is something I can like I can my own knowledge can grow.
Yeah, I'll rip off both Bob Marley and Daniel Kaluuya. Bob Marley, I can't remember exactly what the quote was, but he has said something like, "Say it so a baby can understand it." Like try and communicate truths in their pure essence, and so that people can understand it. And Daniel Kaluuya said, "Simple, special" was like there's a grid of simple, and there's a grid of like complex, and there's how you explain it, and there occupies a corner of the grid is simple, special, where you communicate something that is complex in the most like base way possible that people understand it, and that's the special aspect of it. And people who can communicate that typically are the people who help change things in the public consciousness, hopefully for the good. There's probably some jackassery in the special simple that we've seen, but being able to communicate things in an efficient way is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, well, you're great at it, and you're doing it for the good. You're not doing it for the evil, thankfully.
In the culture war of basketball, we wage, yes, certainly.
Andy, is there a way? Is there something a way that you like to learn about basketball?
Yeah, there actually is. Weirdly enough, mine isn't playing basketball. That was I didn't play enough of basketball because I only really played it before high school, and that was it.
Not enough of the Andy Hull system.
No, not enough
in
of
Mississauga.
Not enough of like boxing people out and trying to get rebounds in Mississauga again, which was my specialty. No. For me, this it's video games. I say this about sports, about all, pretty much all the sports, but like the best recruiting tool for any league or any sport is for kids is like video game. Well, next to actually playing the sport, because people will fall in love with the sport naturally. But video games is right there because you get this, you get the entirety of the game, the way the games are now. Like if anyone's played any of the recent console FIFA, 2K, like whatever it is you're playing. You get the full scope of the game, the league, everything, like contracts, and you can pare it down to whatever you're the most interested in. If you are the most interested in the on-court, movements and stuff, you can design plays. You can learn plays. If everyone's played 2K, you know about that, right? The full scope of it is in there. You calling for screens, all this type of stuff. Like once that came into the game, for some of us who were older when that happened, it was like, this is too much. I can't do all this. But then but like I did learn about that way. For me, learning about the game of basketball was like learning about the business and like contracts and how the league works that way, and like just learning about teams and like the who's on the teams and stuff like that, and knowing the Corey Maggettis of the world. Not that that's an extremely obscure case, but like the Maggetti on the Bucks, like I know that from video games, really. You know what I mean? Like I experienced other teams through that. So like my love of whenever I got the deepest into any given sport, it was when I was playing the video games. And then it just took off from there. So, I mean, that's true for the NHL. It's true for the NBA. It's true for the NFL. Even I remember getting briefly into it when my friends I got into Madden. Yeah, totally. Yeah. You said I learned football from the NFL. That's all a lot of us learn. No, but from Madden, I'm guessing. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love it too. Like I love getting into it, and it's harder these days. Kids and everything. But like I like to. It's why I keep Xbox Game Pass, because they'll give you like last year's NHL and or 2K, and so I still like to pop into those games now and again. And most recently, I watched not this Freddie.
You watched me play basketball.
I watched Scotty play. I watched Scotty Barnes's Twitch stream where he played 2K, and he was getting real frustrated, and it was very funny to see. He's just like us. He was going to throw his controller. It was amazing.
That's really insightful. My friend Oleg, my roommate, he learned baseball playing MLB The Show with me, because nothing about baseball is intrinsic. All the rules seem like, what the hell? Why is this rule? But you learn from the video game. I learned way more about soccer. I learned what offside was playing FIFA. I learned about so many things from Madden. Yeah, totally. That's such a good point.
Freddie, honest man.
Yeah, man, you guys had such. I'm glad I asked this. You guys had such insightful,
Real answers.
real answers. Mine's a real answer too, but I wonder if it's yeah, as sort of relatable and poetic. But mine is talking with other people that are basketball obsessed, and I feel like
Yes.
there's a lot of types of fans of sports in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? And as I started covering the W a couple years ago with Catherine Niker, like we've sort of experienced that through the WNBA, right? Like there's a lot of a lot of types of fans, and I think in this year in particular, there's a lot of new fans coming in, and like how they approach the game, is like sort of, it's kind of colliding with the pre-existing fans, but obviously there's some like really negative parts of that, but it's not all negative because that's sort of how people get introduced to a sport sometimes, like with a superstar, right? Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, like I'm sure there's a lot of people who became golf fans after Tiger Woods or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And but anyhow, like I think a really obsessed basketball fan, there's this element to the way that they talk about basketball and love basketball that is just relentless.
Mm-hmm.
And they like whatever it is, like maybe they're a sneakerhead, or it's video games, or it's fantasy or whatever, although fantasy can be frustrating sometimes. But
Oh yeah.
but like there's just a lot of ways to love basketball. And I'm a Vince Carter era fan originally, but then after that, it's like meeting someone who, like, I can't tell you how many times I've been like at a social function or whatever, and then someone knows I love basketball, and then like they find me and they zero in, and it's like there's a couple comments about basketball, but then they're just like, yeah, but what do you think about Corey Maggette? And I'm like, oh shit, let's fucking go. You know what I mean? But like,
By the way, Corey Maggette going to be on the podcast next week. We're getting
Yeah.
It's official.
but yeah, and so my answer is other basketball obsessed people, and
That
there's a
is
lot of
good.
ways to be obsessed about it, which yeah, is sort of what brought me into podcasting in the first place.
You
That's
really
good.
you really like made me realize that is actually one of mine too, definitely. Like cuz I just remember at your birthday cuz I'm like I've been like a very tangential WNBA like supporter, I'll just say, because I haven't really ever like paid real close attention to the league. I did like at first in that like first year,
Right.
really that first like year or two, and then but then like I just didn't, and now I'm excited about for all the same reasons all of us new fans, and I'll fully happily admit I'm jumping on at this point just like everyone else is.
For sure.
But it's like it's right. It's like right. So I cornered you at times and Catherine at your birthday and was like, tell me about what's good about the WNBA. Like I want to know all your thoughts on everything. And like it was really fun to talk to you guys about that. It was great.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
was
great
fun.
way.
It was fun to talk to you about it.
Oh well, that's nice. Look at us.
We're all gonna hug, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just a quick side note. Samson, by the way, is absolutely telling the truth about scouts, because when I saw him at Summer League, just very casually, I was like walking through last year. I was walking through the halls. I forget. Maybe I was going from one game to the next. And you were talking with the scout, and you're like, "Hey, this is Freddie. This is, I forget what scout it was, but I was like, shit, Samson's getting in there." And he's straight up just like learning from a scout. But yeah, so anyway, so Summer League's coming up.
Nice
And
segue.
yeah, right. It was okay. It was okay. It was a little bit sloppy, but it's so
It's like, what's Freddie doing here? Oh, I see.
Yes,
So,
and
Yes,
yeah,
and
so as I
exactly.
was saying, it is summer, and during summer, there's a league, and we call it Summer League. But yeah, Summer League's amazing. Like this isn't like a how do we improve Summer League type question, but there's just like tons of different types of fandom, that they're trying to engage. So I thought this would be a fun question. What, if you were given the opportunity without any real limitations, like what is an event that you would like to see happen at Summer League yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be hardcore fans, but I'll let you decide sort of the angle. Samson, you're the guest. Do you feel good kicking this one off?
Yeah, I would like a 3-point competition, but stationed like a little bit farther away than the baseline. I would like the competitors to have dodgeballs, and you can't throw it at the ball. However, you can throw it at the person shooting. And I would like that to be what happens. Is like there could be a guy who maybe he only on a round he would only get like 18. Maybe he's not the best 3-point shooter. However, he's the best collection of 3-point shooting and hit you with a dodgeball skill. And I would like, and maybe I don't know which player that is, but I would like to see the NBA figure that out via the new competition called Dodgeball 3-point competition.
That would be so amazingly chaotic. See, this is good stuff because who at Summer League would not go to that? Like I promised you last year, I went for my friend's 40th birthday, and we all wanted to go to Summer League, so it was great. And me and like about 5 other people went back the second day, but like I'd say the other half of the group, they went to other Vegas things. But I guarantee you, if that on that second day, or sorry, not the second day that we were there, if there was a dodgeball 3-point event, like the gym would be packed. Like it would be that like scenario where everyone's like waiting, at least for the small gym, people would be waiting outside for other people to leave so that they could go in.
It'd be a big one.
It'd be a big one.
I'm quite certain of it. Yes. The NBA should pay me. Let some money fall off the back of the truck, and I'll set this up for them.
NBA, you heard the man. Brinks truck, crash it.
This is easy though. Drinking contest, done. It's Vegas. You're partying. We know what's going on. Let's just quit. The charade. Let's just combine the two, right? And you can get games. We can do a little flip cup. We can do a little beer pong. You can do whatever you like. These guys went to universities. These guys went to colleges. They know what it's all about. These guys are probably some of the best flip cup players you've ever seen in your life. You know what I mean?
I mean, they would be skilled.
These guys are beer pong. Are you kidding me? These guys are going to be the best you've ever seen. So that's why I want to see, because it would actually be fun to see their athletic prowess at those games, and then obviously it deteriorate as they get more and more drunk, and I would love to see it. And I just want also, and then they still have to do the interviews. You still have to do the interviews. 100% league mandated. You get fined if you don't do it. Bronny James,
you get fined if you don't do it.
Drunk as fuck. Everyone's just like, "What do you think about your dad?" That's all I want. Let's go.
This is good stuff. I mean,
yeah, right.
I'd watch that too.
Yeah. Who wouldn't?
Here's mine. Some sort of cash prize. Let's say like nothing crazy. Maybe 10,000.
I was gonna say like $10.
$10, yeah.
You're like nothing crazy, like $10.
Nothing crazy. $10.
That I had that conversation with Bruce Brown actually, and it revolved around
$10 a crazy amount of money.
No, the $10 10,000 thing. When he said he was like he had bought the number from Jonte Porter, and he was and we're like, how much? He was like 10, and I was like, oh, $10. He was like $10K. And then obviously learned that Jonte Porter took $10,000 and did something with it.
Wow.
What did he do with that money?
Well, imagine
if
you're Bruce Brown, you're like, wow.
He gets caught up in the RICO case. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. He's in a racketeering case.
That's amazing. I'm just picturing Bruce Brown like put his cowboy hat on after he paid the $10K and just hopped on a horse and was like,
"There you go."
Is Bruce Brown a cowboy?
He wears cowboy hats all the time.
Yeah.
Is he a cowboy though? Does he have a horse?
He might.
Is he living the life, or is he just wearing cowboy hats?
I think he's just wearing. He also like today he was wearing a Bass Pro Shops hat. Like I think he's just like. He just likes fly fishing.
He's about that country life.
Yeah, I think a little bit, or at least the aesthetic of it. I really like the cowboy aesthetic. I think like the Western aesthetic is really cool. I'm not a cowboy though.
Toss on a cowboy hat. Let's see how that works for you.
I actually did a reaction podcast with a
Wearing a
cowboy
full
hat
cowboy
on.
hat?
Yeah.
It
I also
work
got
well
I got
for
a tattoo. It's a cactus.
What?
with
Oh,
a cowboy
that's
hat.
really-
cowboy.
you're in. You're
Yeah,
in.
if there's a club, you're at least like getting in.
Yeah, you're allowed in for sure.
I am perpetually wearing a cowboy hat, only on my
love it.
skin. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, you get a seat at the cowboy table for sure.
Country music has ruined cowboy hats for me. I can't. I love.
I'm not.
them,
I
but
don't like
can't.
country music. Yeah, it's not for me. However, cowboys, because like a cowboy wasn't listening to Jason Aldean. A cowboy didn't know who Jason Aldean was.
That's right. That's exactly. That's true. Exactly. That's why. Yeah.
Do you know cowboys? The reason they ceased to exist was the invention of barbed wire. It's not exciting. They invented barbed wire, and it was a cheap way to fence. So cowboys didn't need to be around for cows anymore or to travel with cows. So barbed wire was like the end of the Western frontier in some sense. Also like civilization catching up, but barbed wire.
That's wild. I never thought.
That's
Because I didn't know that that's what cowboys were used for. I just, and this is purely based on movies, specifically the movie City Slickers. I thought cowboys were just used to like, well, and not again. I don't know. Just used to move them, but it makes sense that people who like didn't want to have giant fences guys would keep the cows around and go get them and stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like,
the boys.
muscle them up.
The cowboys.
Yeah,
The boys.
Wow, okay,
the
Yeah, I
love
cowboys.
it. Okay, cool.
Mini tangent. I just finished listening to a highly recommended audiobook called Blood in the Machine. It's very, very good. And that made me think of the fence. It's about invention and looming and the pejorative term Luddites and how there's actually a Luddite movement of destroying machines. And yeah, it's all about how machines sort of can take things away from us, have taken things away from us.
Karl Marx, baby.
Cowboys.
Yeah, but the fence really made me think of it. It's like, wow, right. I didn't know that cowboys were
Down with fences.
Down with fences is what I'm saying. And by the way, we should wrap this up. But my Vegas idea was a giant game of bump. So
Okay, great.
that's basically
That's a great one.
10K
Very
prize. You know, let's say like 25, 30 guys, like huge game of bump.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be fun.
Last year when we went to Vegas, we also went to the Grand Canyon, and in driving out to the Grand Canyon, we saw a court in the middle of the desert. And on the way back from the Grand Canyon, we stopped at the court, and it was 5 of us in the car, and we played bump out in the desert. And we also played like a bunch of games of one-on-one. It was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bump like shit gets silly
Yes.
right away.
Yes.
And I love bump. It's the best.
There's purists, and then there's the bumpers, like the shit heel, like the guy who's just stands with the
100%.
ball, like he I'll fuck the game up at a moment's notice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big like you gotta release the ball. Like you can't just hold the ball. And, like no, that's no good. Like you have to take some risk.
Yes.
But that takes us to the end of the pod. Samson, you always got a ton of fun stuff coming on. What's something you want to plug or let people know?
I don't actually know. Working on a few different things. I don't know how much of it'll materialize. I just hope to see. I hope Mountain Dew listen to this. I hope NBA Courtside listen to this, and I hope the NBA itself listen to this, so that all of our dreams can get bankrolled. This is my earnest hope.
Yeah,
Love
here,
it.
here.
Yep.
Here, guys.
Yes, and I also agree.
Yes.
Andy, you got anything coming up? Trivia night. What's up?
Trivia nights, 4th Wednesday, Smith House. Upcoming partnership with NBA Courtside Restaurant, obviously.
Huge.
That's definitely happening for sure. And no, that's it. That's shows. Oh, I'm doing a show in. I'm doing it way later. I'll tell you guys when it's closer to it. I'm doing it in like August. I'll tell everyone then.
Okay, that's a bit. That's a bit away.
That's a long time. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone so much for listening. Subscribe, follow, and support Raptors Republic. All the good people like Samson, like us there. Thanks, and see you next week. Peace.
Bye.